Hi everyone, and welcome to our continued coverage of E3 2018. In this short video, we're going to be going through Bethesda. This happened Sunday evening. Our coverage is going to be kind of short on it too. It was only, 45, 50 minutes?
Yeah, most of it for Fallout.
Yeah, so that was kind of the meat of it. We're going to kind of talk about the vibe of it, which was very different from your typical showcases at E3. They opened it up with kind of an artsy video, I guess you could call it, about the culture at Bethesda, how they've got different development teams, what they kind of get out of their development team, so that's kind of cool to see. One of their things that was their theme was to create. They did briefly talk about how they have 10 studios working worldwide with them now, so they did brag quite a bit about their awards that they got last year and their Metacritic scores of their overall Bethesda games, so there was a lot that was kind of trying to sell you on the company. The overall vibe of the conference, however, was a different story at the end of it. What did you take away at the end of Bethesda? It was kind of a strange...
Strange. They had a lot of people speaking that it felt like they shouldn't be speaking in public. It came off real flat. Andrew WK opened was kind of odd. And
very weird.
The crowd was kind of silent, and it was just odd.
Yeah, I would say that the people that you have at the conference are kind of like, you have to kind of cater to your audience, and I'm not sure if Andrew WK caters to that audience. He had a ton of what looked like editors and kind of people that cover the game industry saying, what is going on right now? And the stage layout was really weird. They had a center stage, and then they had two screens, kind of like, actually the Cowboy Stadium is kind of like the way it is. You have this massive screen, and then you had people around it in kind of a U form. So it wasn't like your typical stage where you present out. You had a center stage where you present on both sides, and so the speakers would walk and face both sides of the stages, which was very strange. But very weird conference. I would say it's the weirdest from Bethesda in a long time.
Yeah, it was strange. The only people that are good to hear from, Pete Hines is excellent, and Todd Howard came out and spoke a lot, and he's excellent as well. But the rest of the group was kind of odd. But content-wise, they showed a lot of good stuff. What do you want to start with here?
They opened up with Andrew WK. He came out and had his quick song, and that introduced Rage 2.
Yeah.
So Rage 2, we didn't really see a lot of new things that we weren't already privy to from the trailer that initially launched. One of the things that I got a huge feel of was Mad Max meets Bulletstorm, and the gameplay up close felt a lot like the recent reboot of Doom.
Yeah.
So a lot of colors, a lot of different vibrance from the game. And they did kind of show the different ways you could attack a level when you were kind of coming at it. Do you want to go guns blazing up front? Do you want to a lot of environmental kills? They did notice the different areas you could kill enemies with, so it does look pretty cool. They also shared a collector's edition that was very odd. It had like a head that you could mount, and it would talk in weird different ways. That's going to be going for $119, which was seems pretty cool. We're going to see it spring of 2019.
Yeah, I thought the gameplay looks extremely fun. Yeah. It just looks like a fun game to play, like chaotic, like you said, kind of Doom meets more verticality and openness. Mad Max, I don't know. It looks bonkers. Word I tend to say too often, I think, and
bonkers.
Yeah. But looks like a blast to play, and I'll probably check it out for sure.
Yeah, it looks cool. However, there's just it's a good ways away, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
As we know, the fall is going to be extremely crowded, and even the beginning of Q1 is going to be extremely crowded. Just February looks nuts.
Yeah.
So let's move on to something else. A lot of Elder Scroll announcements for existing software. We did hear about Elder Scroll Legends, which has been out on PC. For a while. It's coming to consoles. They did kind of talk about some of the stats regarding the game, what they've released for it already. If you're not a big Elder Scrolls Legends game player right now, or you weren't interested in it before, in my opinion, from what I got from it, you're not going to be any more interested now.
Just new artwork, I think is the only stuff.
So that was one. There's also Elder Scrolls Somerset. You want to talk a little bit more about that one? You know a lot more about that than I do.
Yeah, so Somerset came out last week for Elder Scrolls Online. A producer of the game came out and spoke about awards they've won and how the game's progressed and expanded. And they've done a pretty good job, to be honest, around keeping that game kind of fresh and bringing new content. And then they showed the content that'll be coming later this year, which I can't go into too much detail about because I haven't played it in a little while. But looks interesting. Probably keep people who are fans of Elder Scrolls Online interested and engaged, so decent there, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely more of, like I said, if you weren't a fan of it before, you're probably not going to be any interested into it now, or more of a fan now. It's more of just more content coming, so it's kind of cool. They did finally, at this point in the conference, they moved on to the Doom sequel, which is going to be called Doom Eternal. If you've been following seasoned gaming for a while, Doom was actually one of our favorite games of 2016.
Game of the year?
Yeah, it's our game of the year. So we were extremely excited about it. It was a trailer. For a long time, you weren't sure if it was Doom or not, and then you started seeing some of the demons from the game. And then we had some speakers come out and briefly talk on it. So it looks really, really cool. As I did mention a second ago, that's going to be called Doom Eternal. We didn't get a date for that, did we?
No details really.
Yeah.
And it's sadly, the trailer let up was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The speakers were flat, which kind of sucked. The only thing they said is double the demons or something like that, like new demons that you haven't seen before in Doom. But no real extensive details.
No, very much a teaser. So we'll probably hear more about that down the line, which then transitioned into Quake Champions. Once again, another game that's we've heard a lot about. Some people have played it.
It's been in beta for a while now on PC.
So
it's very Twitch shooter, back to the hardcore competitive Quake style. Open beta for everyone is what they announced. So if you're on PC and you want to check out Quake, you can go do that right now.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. More of something that exists already, that they've talked more about it, maybe more informational. And then took us to one of Ains' biggest prayers. Got that? Prayers? Prayers for 2018. We finally hear about Prey.
This is what I've been dealing with.
Yeah, for a whole 2 days already. So Prey 2, or I should say Prey, the reboot, is getting some DLC. And you had actually kind of speculated about this because there were some teasers in the game while you play. So if you haven't played Prey, you wouldn't know about this, but there's some DLC that was teased, or at least hoped for, that were teasing up to E3. I've been waiting for the enhancement, which was not announced, which is unfortunate, but why don't you talk a little bit about the DLC, where it is, what it is, and when it's out?
Yeah, so Moon Crash, I believe, was the official title for it. It's actually out now. So they did one of those $19.99 play it now type things. Good news for Prey fans. So they had that new content for the DLC, and it looks to be like kind of a survival type thing. Like they showed a trailer where you kept running through a simulation over and over again, trying different things to survive and get off the moon. So obviously you're here covering E3, checking everything out. I haven't been able to check it out, but I will when I get back home. They also announced new modes and ways to play Prey. So they announced a New Game Plus mode, which sounds really cool. They didn't really give extensive details, but if you think about the abilities and things you learned as you got to the end of Prey, what New Game Plus and what you'll be able to do, I'm hoping they go into more detail with skill tree enhancements or something. And they also announced like a multiplayer mode where you have one real player and then a whole bunch of other players that are mimics. Sounds real interesting. I don't know how it will play, or if it will bring an audience that hadn't tried Prey before to the game. But it's neat to see that they're continuing to support it. I hope people check out Moon Crash and some new people check out Prey, because it would be great to get a continuation in this new reboot of the franchise.
Yeah, they had some fun little gimmicks from the people that were presenting as well. So if you've played Prey, there was like a mimic that attacked one of the developers from the game in the background during the trailer.
Again, the audience was flat during that one.
Yeah, it was pretty flat. It was so let me mention, until Prey, that was the last game where every speaker was extremely flat, not known for public speaking apparently, and there was actually a few just weird, awkward pauses. The next game that they talked about after that was Wolfenstein 2 expansion/DLC. At this point, finally, we get some energy from speakers. So the speakers came out. They were a lot more fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
They were talking a lot more about their game, Wolf 2, from last year. And so there's some new DLC coming. It's going to be called Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Yeah, Youngblood. Takes place 1980s.
1980s. It looks like it's going to be a co-op DLC as well. It's two daughters that were, is it twins?
I don't know if they said twin siblings of BJ.
Yep.
So this is what, 20 years after, 30 years after Wolfenstein 2?
Yep. So looks pretty cool. We didn't really get a lot of gameplay or much of anything. They kind of talked about what the concept of the game was, that it's coming. And that's something to look for. So if you were a fan of Wolfenstein 2, which we were here, it's something to look forward to. As if you remember, when you finish the game, you can go back and kind of replay missions. But a lot of people were complaining that once you finish Wolfenstein, there's not much to do. There's actually a ton to do, by the way. But we're going to get some DLC for it. Some good news there. So at this point, the showcase kind of transitioned. We had the main speaker come out, and introduced Todd Howard. So when we were talking about the Microsoft conference, we touched on that there was a longer Fallout 76 trailer, and that we would wait till we discussed Bethesda to talk more about Fallout 76. They introduced everything as a joke about what's the next step for Bethesda and where they're going to put Skyrim, which had kind of a hilarious video which has gone kind of viral almost, where Skyrim was coming to Alexa. And I think Alexa's actually joking along with them now, because you can actually tell your Alexa to start Skyrim and then it tells you some jokes afterwards. But then it transitioned to Fallout 76. We finally got a ton of details about the game. We've talked about how it's going to be entirely online. You can play with your friends. It seems like a lighter take on the game. And also you can still play single player, but I think the main draw to it is to play with your friends.
Yeah.
There's going to be some more building techniques. It's been in development for quite a while, as Todd Howard mentioned. And in my opinion, when I was watching, a lot of it was presented in a Destiny/Anthem format where you could go and with places and things like that, which I think is going to be kind of the genre that'll be a lot bigger. I mean, you see it in Forza Horizon now too, where, you know, go with your friends and stuff like that. But what were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. We've talked before about Fallout 4, how for whatever reason, even being a big Fallout fan like I am, it didn't grab me and never could really get into it. So Todd Howard came out. Todd Howard is excellent. You know, he's just one of those beloved guys in the industry. He spoke for something like 26 minutes about Fallout 76 and gave all the details. So as Bert said, it's up to 4 players. You can play it solo. There are missions. It includes 6 regions that are all different, Todd Howard said, and it's 4 times bigger than Fallout 4, so massive game. But the core of it is it's always online. Every player in the world is going to be a real player, which was the kind of the huge announcement when you think about Fallout and the scope of it. And as with any kind of shared world shooter we're seeing, whether, you know, or even games like Sea of Thieves, right? Those people, well, since they're real people, you don't know if they're going to be friendly, if they're going to be nice, if you'll team up with them.
They'll kill you or not. Or
and it looked, so they showed some gameplay of this, and it looked really neat. This is what grabbed me, is that it showed like Destiny, Anthem, etc., but in Fallout. And Fallout, you know, fans know the game has a ton of personality. It's part of what is loved about the franchise. So it showed leveling and RPG elements just as you would expect, but it showed your crew kind of there with you rolling around. It showed emotes and all the things you've come to know from Destiny, Anthem, those shared world shooter games, but in Fallout, which is really interesting to me. Yeah. It also showed quickly a guy rolling around by himself and coming up on an encampment with a guy, and he was hostile. And it popped up at the bottom, and it showed something like, you know, a reward basically for killing him. And so they get into this quick gun battle, and you can just, your mind kind of races of the situations you may get into as you're playing online and running into random people. So I don't know. Well, what else? What else?
Well, so what's the big surprise here is that it's coming out this year. November 14th. So if you were wondering as to when you're going to be buying games this fall, a lot going on, and we're not even at E3 yet. So there's probably going to be more stuff coming out in the fall we don't know about. So November 14th. They did show the collector's edition for that too. We're going to get a Power Armor edition. And a map that glows in the fucking dark is what.
And a wearable helmet.
Yeah.
So another helmet for my collection.
Yeah, wearable. It's got a light on top of it that you can turn on.
And the voice modulator.
And the voice modulator. So we're getting quite the collector's edition from it. It comes with figures to put on the map too. So it's going to be kind of an interesting collector's edition. Beta registration is up. So if you're interested in the beta, you can definitely register for that.
Yeah, I tried to look at that last night real quick. I only saw PC. I don't know if the beta is PC only or not. Maybe I just was looking at the wrong page. But yeah, I mean, they talked a lot more about the game too. We're going quickly over it, but they're still building. You'll be able to build settlements. You know, if you die, you don't lose anything. So it's, you know, you feel free to kind of engage or fight with other people because you're not going to lose any progress or any of your XP or progression.
Yeah, permadeath type stuff.
Yeah, so things they didn't mention. They didn't mention how many people will be on each server.
Sure.
So the only thing that seemed weird to me, if a game's 4 times bigger than Fallout 4, so you have this huge map, to make it feel like there's people around, you're going to have 50, 100, multiple hundred people on a server, which traditionally you don't. So I know Todd Howard said that, you know, online testing is going to be extensive. They're doing the beta like you just mentioned, so they've probably got some big plans there. But I'm very interested. I liked what I saw. I hope it's got a lot of loot. And I hope there's some things we haven't seen yet, but I'm really surprised it's coming this year. I guess we shouldn't be. Bethesda's done that recently, where they announce and come out this year. But I am disappointed it's coming out this year, and the only reason I say that is because Red Dead comes out 3 weeks before.
Yep. Yeah, so I think we heard a lot more about Fallout 76. We were kind of in the dark quite a bit before Microsoft conference, and in seeing the showcase for for this type of game, it looks a lot better. So it was kind of cool to see more. I'm sure we'll hear more about it as we get closer to the launch date. Cool to see it. Another thing that they talked about Fallout is Fallout Shelter is now available for the PS4 and the Switch, and it's free. So you can definitely download that, and that was free as of yesterday. So we are catching up the following morning from Bethesda. So yesterday being Sunday, it was available for free. And so cool to finally see that. They did talk about Elder Scrolls Blades when this was kind of announced. We thought this was the new Elder Scrolls or whatever they're going to work on, and then they seem to have a very weird direction on this one, and the audience was very confused, very like, why is this being talked about? But Todd Howard started talking about Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and he did mention how the mobile device is the place you can play this on. You can play it portrait, you can play it landscape, whatever you want to do on your handheld. But it's also going to connect to every other type of platform that exists. So your PlayStation 4, your Xbox One, PC, even the VR parts are going to be able to be played with this game as well. And they're all going to connect into one universe to where you can kind of play everything together. I'm not sure if this was kind of accepted in some amazing way or something. We didn't really seem to care too much about it when we were watching. We were like, why? Or why is this being mentioned? But it is coming this fall, and it will be free. So we can't really complain too much about that. We didn't see this coming in any way, which was kind of an interesting presentation. I didn't really love or hate it on that side.
Yeah, I'm not a big mobile gamer, so when I saw, them just kind of walking in steps and swiping the screen, that didn't interest me much at all. But it is neat that they're bringing Elder Scrolls to mobile. It does have a full character creator and kind of those RPG elements and a town and everything. So I think that's really neat. Elder Scrolls has a massive following, of course, so I'm sure it'll probably take off in some form. So I like what they're doing. It's just not for me, I don't think, personally.
Yeah, so we can kind of move on from there because it really wasn't that impressive or not impressive. It was just kind of, what? Todd Howard's talking about this for this long? And so as the conference moved on, so there wasn't anything really new that surprised us. A lot of the stuff was kind of assumed that was going to be released. And then finally, as the showcase was kind of getting to the tail end, Todd Howard finally says, so we've talked about all that, but let me tell you what we've been working on for the near future. And then there was a trailer that rolled off, and Starfield was finally, I guess, officially announced, officially talked about, with about a 10-second teaser.
Yeah, it was pretty short.
Yeah.
Pretty short. But it's interesting to see that Starfield is the official name. That's long been the rumor. Disappointing that we didn't see anything from it. Cool music. It's space, obviously sci-fi or space, but that was it. They didn't really show much at all, and I was really disappointed. I was hoping that Todd would show the game in some form.
Something, yeah. It was weird. So it was just, for people that didn't watch it yet or are going to be watching it, what it was is there was a zoom out. You could see a planet in space, and then kind of got to this star-looking station or something like a space station, and then it cut off and it simply said Starfield. So we don't know much about it. Once again, that's kind of what you can assume from a game titled Starfield. It really wasn't a surprise anywhere. And then people were going nuts about it, and then we moved over to the worst teaser of their entire conference.
I agree.
It said something for the further future. We saw kind of a flyover of kind of some countryside. And then
like one of those Lord of the Rings New Zealand flyovers.
That's right, exactly. And then it cut off, and it simply said Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, you heard the music, the drums.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so Todd Howard introduced it as, and you guys have been teasing about it, asking about it nonstop, so here it is. And they showed that was probably less than 10 seconds.
It was
10 seconds.
Honestly, I know people are probably going nuts because Skyrim is so popular. Everyone wants Elder Scrolls 6. We know that. We know it's coming. We know it's in development. I just don't understand this. Yeah. It showed absolutely nothing. It means nothing. It shows nothing about development. I don't know what the point of that was.
I think the final two announcements were simply to say, yes, we're working on them. Quit asking us about it.
Yeah,
that's pretty much all it was. But that was really it. So Bethesda, in my opinion, without sounding rude or anyway, it landed very flat. The presentation was very all over the place. I always say you have to know your audience when you're presenting, and I don't think they knew their audience very well in this whatsoever, with the exception of Todd Howard coming out and speaking. We're excited about Doom Eternal. We're excited about Starfield whenever it gets here, Elder Scrolls whenever it gets here, which... So as far as Bethesda goes, I'd say the conference was all over the place. I always say kind of know your audience to who you're presenting. I would say the first half of the conference was very flat, very even awkward at times. The speakers, as we talked about earlier, probably not the best public speakers you want out in front of the company, but that's Bethesda, so we're kind of talking to their developers. The second half with Todd Howard presenting went very well. However, there were some questionable decisions that Bethesda's moving to. It was roughly about 45 to 50 minutes, so we saw definitely a bunch of stuff, but so far for E3, probably the weirdest conference.
I don't know. It was a weird dichotomy because Pete Hines is an excellent speaker, makes people laugh, good comments. Todd Howard is excellent, but then you're trying to showcase these other development teams, which is fine. But the way they do it and putting them on that stage is probably not what they're best at. So maybe I would think it would be better if they did something like a 2-3 minute video that showcased the different teams and some of the people on them, without being standing there presenting, and then just let Pete Hines and Todd Howard do the conference. I think they would that would behoove them a lot better in the future. But besides the weird presentation, plus you had these kind of like developers speaking in very technical things about their games right after Andrew WK is trying to do like a rock thing, and it was odd. They tried to have this personality, and it just kind of fell flat in our opinion. But regardless, content-wise, yes, new Prey stuff, Doom 2 confirmed, Fallout 76, tons of detail, and a deep dive on it, which I loved. We know Starfield's coming, and Elder Scrolls 6 is coming, obviously, new Wolfenstein. So, I mean, really good content. They just got to figure out how to present it better, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you haven't watched it, take a good look at it. Hopefully you enjoyed listening on us and our thoughts on it. We got more stuff coming from you. Coming up next is going to be Square. Then we have Ubisoft later today. And then we have Sony at the end of the afternoon. So hopefully you listen in for some more of our impressions. And thanks for watching.